So, hi, my name's Ali McDonald, and I'm the distillery manager here at Port Ellen Distillery. So, in terms of the building of Port Ellen, I was the implementation manager before. So, right from when it was a building site, built it up with a team from bricks upwards, and now we're a fully functioning distillery. So, that's my role here. So, quite a cool day for us. So, when Port Ellen Distillery first of all closed in 1983, there wasn't really a whisky festival at the time. So, not only is it our first distillery open day since reopened the distillery, it's also actually our first open day ever. So there will be a live music, bars and some food trucks in the open area. And we've got a couple of special tours throughout the day. So we've got some operator-led tours. We've got some tours with the archive team and our selected whisky team. Then I've got a few distillery managers tours as we take people around and open up the doors of the kind of famous Port Ellen distillery. So anyone can come into the courtyard, they can have a look at the distillery, they can feel part of the team, part of my production team and part of the wider whisky team as well. I've known distillers who've been in the industry for 30, 40, 50 years, and there's maybe only one or two kind of like hair in the neck, like hair standing up in the back of your neck moments. With a project like Port Ellen, there's so many of them. You get to see the first stills getting lifted into place, the first brick getting put in, the first spirit run, the first wash run, the first cask we filled. And this is going to be another one of those moments that we want people to be a part of. We want people to come in years to come, say, I was at the first ever Port Ellen Open Day. And for me, that's a massive, massive sense of achievement. But a lot of people, when they talk about Port Ellen, they'll assume that it's all going to be about the past and heritage and history. For us at Port Ellen Distillery, that just can't quite be good enough. So we really want to be pushing forward in terms of innovation, experimentation as we move forward. So part of the distillery, what we refer to as the Phoenix side, will be predominantly producing Port Ellen liquid. So that liquid that was produced between 1967 and 1983, but that's only really one part of the story. So the other side of the distillery is what we refer to as the experimental side. So when people come around Port Ellen Distillery, it's not just a history lesson, it's also a lesson about innovation and how we want to push and explore Port Ellen as we move forward. So in terms of, at the moment, we're doing what all the other distilleries in Ireland do, so double distillation. We want to really explore more and understand more about Port Ellen. So part of our experimental range, we talk about triple distillation, part triple distillation, quadruple distillation, part cut streaming, sorry. So all about innovation, all about understanding more about what makes Port Ellen, but also as we move forward, we want to think about the past, and that Port Ellen was always known about being a very forward-thinking distillery. So we want to take that past and heritage, but also instill it into what we're doing on site in terms of myself and my production and management team here on site as well. Firstly, the name Port Ellen comes with a lot of weight on your shoulders, certainly myself and the production team. So we've really got to be careful about how we're managing our production regime. So we've worked very, very hand in hand with both the whisky team and the archive team. So when we talked about that Phoenix distillation, what we're trying to do there is recreate that classic Port Ellen new make spirit. So we've been working really closely with them to ensure that our stills are the same size, the way in which we run the stills. So when we talk about our distillate temperatures, distillate speeds, distillate flow rates, our length of fermentation. So Port Ellen is quite a fruity character. So our fermentations are quite abnormally long if you compare us to other Islay or peaty-based spirits. So really the pressure is for us to create a spirit and therefore a whisky in years to come that can actually stand up to Port Ellen name. But so far so good. The team have been really delivering for myself. So if we keep on going the way we're going at the moment, I'm quite confident we'll be making Port Ellen. For me, in terms of the industry and how I think about life and the whole industry, it means absolutely everything. So I'm from the West Coast. I'm from a wee place called Lochilphead. We've got an industry here that pays people well, but also there's so many different avenues that people straight out of school can go into. They can go into the distillery job and they can work all over the world. But also the important thing for myself, from a selfish perspective, is it can keep people in Ireland as well. There's just this wee rock in the west coast of Scotland, a wee rock in the middle of the Atlantic that's still at the forefront of malt distilling. So how did Port Ellen become a cult hero? So for me, there's a couple of different ways of looking at this. So that whole period of when Port Ellen closed, we talk about 1983, that whole period of the industry was referred to as whisky lock. And the distilleries have been producing on a large scale up until that period. And then the reason it's whisky lock is there was no forecasting in the industry at the time, or certainly not the forecast that we've got now, So distilleries were producing. So our inventory, our warehouse stocks were going up and up and up. But unfortunately, the liquid wasn't getting drank, certainly not to the volume it is now. So that's why we refer to it as whisky law, because the warehouses were essentially locks of whisky. You've got to imagine back at the time, it was a blender's market. So all the distilleries in Islay, a vast majority around Scotland, the vast majority of liquid from our industry was going into blends. So we were trying to distill it, and then we were putting it in casks, which at the time there wasn't quite the cask selection that we now have now within the industry. So we weren't getting probably a good active maturation. So what we found with Port Ellens was it was only until its later years. So once it matured for longer periods of time, people started to open up these old warehouses. They started to smell, nose, taste the casks, and that was really when it became that revered name of Port Ellen. By all means, it's been the absolute honour of my career to get to be at the forefront of Port Ellen now and get to open it. But the people that have really kept the Port Ellen name alive are these people that have carried on drinking it, carried on talking about it, and carried on writing about it. The real aficionados that have always kept the Port Ellen name alive, because without them, behind my back, we wouldn't have a Port Ellen distillery. So really, for me, the credit lies with those sort of people.